According to the retirement transition studies, nearly 60% of Americans who retire between ages 55 and 60 do it unintentionally. Not because they planned early, but because of burnout, layoffs, health issues, or corporate restructuring. And here's the part that really matters. Most of them say the same thing afterward. I thought I had more time. If you're anywhere between your mid 40s and late 50s, this video could quietly change the way the rest of your life unfolds. Now, if you are older than that and you're getting close to retirement, this also can help you. Because retiring before 65 isn't about luck. It's about mindset and timing. Now, quick favor before we go further. If you want retirement education that actually reflects real life taxes, healthcare, income, volatility, and trade-offs, make sure you hit that subscribe button. No hype, no scare tactics, just clear thinking around money and retirement. All right, let's talk about retiring between 55 and 60, or at least before 65, the most misunderstood window in retirement planning. So why is 55 to age 65 the most dangerous retirement age? Well, most people think the hardest part of retirement is deciding when to retire. It's not. The hardest part is surviving the gap years, especially between 55 and 60. You're in that strange financial no man's land. You're too young for Medicare. You're too old to just recover from big mistakes, and close enough to retirement that volatility hurts more. Traditional advice doesn't work well here because most advice assumes one of two things. Either you're decades away or you're already 65. Very few plans are designed for this middle zone. And that's why so many people get stuck working longer than they want to. Now, here's the big lie about just wait until 65. You've probably heard this before. Just hang on until Medicare. Just work a few more years. You're so close. But here's the problem. Those extra years aren't neutral. They come with costs. There's health stress, opportunity loss, burnout, family time you don't get back. And financially, waiting doesn't always make things safer. Sometimes it makes them more fragile because the plan becomes dependent on continued employment, continued market cooperation, continued health, and that's not conservative. That's concentrated risk. So why most people can't see a path to 55 to 60? Here's something I see constantly. People in their late 40s or early 50s say things like, I've saved well, but I still don't see how I can stop working. Or at least those that are 55 plus. That's not a savings problem. That's an income design problem. Most retirement planning focuses on accumulation. Very little focuses on the timing of your income, the stabilizing cash flow, reduced forced withdrawals, and without those pieces, retiring before 65 sometimes feels impossible. Now let's think about it. There's a key shift here. So let's pause here and say this clearly. Retiring between 55 and 60 is not about having more money. It's about having money that behaves differently. That's the entire game. If your plan still relies on selling assets, hoping market cooperates, or drawing down your principal early, you'll always feel stuck because deep down you know that's fragile. And most people just panic when they think about taking money from assets that they've been saving for years and years. So why net worth is a terrible retirement metric? This might surprise you, but net worth is one of the least useful numbers for deciding when you can retire. You could have a large portfolio, a paid off house, strong savings, and still be unable to stop working. Why? Because none of those guarantee income continuity. Early retirement, especially before Medicare, is an income problem first, not a wealth problem. Now, here's where the 4% rule falls apart before 65. And if you don't know what that is, there's a theory that if you put your portfolio in a 60-40 stock bond mix or 70-30 stock bond mix, that you'll have a high likelihood of making it through retirement if you just withdraw 4% adjusted for inflation without running out of money within 30 years. It was never designed for someone retiring at age 55. It was based on a 30-year retirement. It was also based on historical market averages. No personalization. If you retire at 55, you're potentially planning for 35 to 40 years. That magnifies the sequence of risk, the inflation risk, and behavioral risk. And here's the part most people miss. The first 5 to 7 years matter more than the last 20. Bad timing early can permanently damage the plan. Now let's simplify this. If your retirement income requires you to sell assets to pay bills, you are exposed, especially in that 55 to 65 window, because you don't yet have Medicare, you don't have Social Security, unless you're age 62 or older, required distributions. Everything depends on your portfolio behaving. That's not freedom, that's dependency. So what actually works? Well, income first thinking. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, how big does my portfolio need to be? Ask, how stable is my income between now and age 65? That reframes the entire plan. Now you're thinking about dividends or interest, contractual income, and tax efficiency, not liquidation, not guesswork, and especially not hope. Now, healthcare, the reason most people wait. Let's talk about the real reason people wait until 65, and that's because of healthcare. And that fear is somewhat justified. But here's the problem. Most people overestimate the cost because they don't plan around income structure. Healthcare subsidies are income-based, not asset-based, which means how your income shows up matters more than how much you have. This is where strategy beats guessing. Now, if you're still watching, you probably are thinking one of two things. Either this finally makes sense, or I wish someone had explained this earlier. So stick with me, because the next few minutes are where most people have the biggest blind spots. Let's talk about taxes, where they hit harder before 65. Now, before 65, you don't have the same tax cushions. No Social Security offsets, no Medicare smoothing, and no required minimum distribution structure, which means bad tax planning hurts more, big withdrawals cost more, and mistakes compound faster. Retiring at 55 or between 65 and 55 requires intentional tax sequencing, not just tax deferral. So you've probably been told you need growth. And why aggressive can be the wrong move here? Well, when you need that growth, or you can't get conservative too early, but you have to think about it. Aggressive growth right before retirement is not always smart. Volatility doesn't care about averages. It cares about timing. And timing is everything in this window. Now, there is also a 3-bucket framework approach. And here's a simple way to think about it. Bucket 1 is stability. You put money in there. If you want income you can rely on regardless of markets. There's bucket 2, which is flexibility. Assets that grow that aren't forced to sell. And there's bucket 3, which is the legacy, the long-term growth without pressure. Most people put everything in bucket 2, and that's why they can't stop working. So, why this is a mindset problem first? Let's be honest. Most people don't fail at retiring early because of math. They fail because they never shift from someday planning to transition planning. Retiring at 55 or older is a transition, not a finish line. So, if you're in your 40s or 50s, this is the ideal time, not to panic, but to reposition. You don't need to overhaul everything. You need to start designing income, reduce forced risk, create optionality. That's how people retire on their terms. Now, why most people work longer than they need to? Many people could retire earlier, but they can't see it because their plan doesn't show them a path. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence changes decisions. So what does safety actually mean? Now, safety isn't avoiding markets. Safety is avoiding dependency. Dependency on continued employment, perfect timing, and government age rules. Real safety is flexibility. So retiring before 65 isn't about beating the system. It's about not being trapped by it. And the people who do it successfully aren't reckless. They're prepared. So if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. Retirement timing is not an age decision, it's an income decision. And the earlier you understand that, the more control you have. If this video helps you see retirement differently, especially if you're thinking about the ages of 55 to 65, we offer one-on-one strategy meetings designed specifically for this transition window. There's no pressure, there's no product pitch, just a clear conversation about income, healthcare timing, taxes, and realistic options. You'll find a link below to book a meeting. Even one good conversation can change the next 10 or 20 years. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.